Hello, everybody. Hello, and welcome back to Nightmare Necessities. So I know it has been quite a while since I have last uploaded, and I do apologize, but I will do my best to maintain a consistent uploading schedule this year. Now before I get on with the episode, I want to address some changes made to the channel. First things first, the channel name. Now, to those of you, you originally remember the channel being called Nightmare Necessities. It is now called Two Sides of the Mic. The reason why I did this is because I am adding a second podcast to my channel, and I didn't want Nightmare Necessities to be the main thing that my channel is known for. Even though my channel is relatively small, and that is okay. I wanted it to be something where if I decided to do more podcasts, that would be good, but also to where the names don't complicate things, nothing gets confused or misunderstood. And so, Two Sides of the Mic. Now, I do have a new podcast coming soon. I will tell you guys more about that later, but just know that it will be a lot of fun. It will definitely be a lot more consistent than Nightmare Necessities, if I am being 100% honest right now. And we're gonna have a blast. So, today, for episode 3 of Nightmare Necessities, we are talking about Halloween 2, made in 1981. Now, if you guys remember, we last left off with Halloween 1, which was made in 1978 by John Carpenter. So, we start the movie right where we left off with the last one. We're back at the Doyle house, and we're back at the scene where Laurie is telling the kids to go run to a neighbor's house to get help and to call the police. So they run out of the house, practically screaming for help. As they are running, Dr. Loomis is walking up the street and notices that they are, running out in distress. So he puts two and two together and heads straight to the house. While heading there, Laurie is currently still in her comatose state of shock, if you will. And as she's getting up, Michael has also gotten up. He is not dead because he's Michael. So, Michael has gotten up, which she doesn't notice because, once again, she's in her little comatose state of shock, and rightfully so, because an event like that would be very traumatic, and I'm pretty sure that would be very draining, and that would definitely take a toll on anybody. So, as she's walking out of the room, Michael comes up behind her and starts choking her. So, as that is happening, Loomis runs up the stairs, and he grabs his pistol. So, in the midst of that, Laurie is struggling to fight Michael off. Eventually, she does get him off by actually grabbing his mask and taking it off. And we get a glimpse of his face. And that's probably the only time we actually do get a glimpse of his face. And in this particular scene, he is played by a guy named Tony Moran, who is not Naked Castle, just to be aware. So, Michael puts his mask back on, and the second he does, he gets shot by Loomis. Then shoots him 6 times, if I remember correctly, 6 times with his gun. And Michael falls off of the backyard balcony and out onto the lawn. So he's just laid there. So then after a little while, Laurie is just sitting on the floor in the hallway crying because, of course, she is. Like, that's once again, that is a very traumatic event. So she questions Loomis on if Michael was the boogeyman, and not Michael, but Dr. Loomis, of course, says yes. So Loomis goes to look back outside and notices that Michael is gone. So he panics, he goes outside, and the only difference with this scene is that the last movie ended with Michael falling off the backyard balcony. but in the second part of the movie, it shows him falling off the front yard balcony. But either way, same as before, Michael is no longer there. So Loomis goes outside. He doesn't see Michael. He just sees like the body print that's on the grass from when Michael fell and some blood. So a neighbor next door supposedly heard all the gunshots and he's asking, what all the racket was. And Loomis is on a hunt, so let's put it that way. He's on the prowl, searching for Michael. So then Michael continues doing what he's doing, walking around and whatnot, and he gets to the house of an elderly couple called the Elvads. He looks into their kitchen window, seeing Mrs. Elvad making a sandwich for her husband, who is currently asleep in the living room, who was watching another classic horror movie, Night of the Living Dead, which we will get to on this podcast. Anyways, so during the movie, there comes a broadcast about the murders that Michael has committed. So, in the midst of all this, while Mrs. Elrod's back is turned as she's looking at the news, Michael very quietly sneaks into their house and takes the kitchen knife that she was using when she was making a sandwich. So, he gets out of there once he sees that the news has mentioned the murders. And he goes to their next door neighbor's house, a girl named Alice. And she is very oblivious and not very, I don't want to say smart, but she's just not all that wise. So Michael goes over to her house and she's home alone because her parents went, to another town to do something. And so Michael quietly sneaks into her house, which the door was unlocked in the middle of the night. Crazy. So Michael sneaks in and she sees that the front door is open. So she dumbly approaches it, and she doesn't even bother to look around the house. She doesn't use any of her peripheral vision, no instincts, no gut feelings. She just approaches the door and is like, "Hello, is anyone there?" Next thing you know, Michael jumps out from the corner and just stabs her straight into the chest. So then, the movie continues onward, and we get back to the house, where Laurie was babysitting at, and she is on a stretcher, and the two paramedics, Jimmy and Bud, they take her to Haddonfield Memorial Hospital. And Laurie is still in her comatose state of shock, and she's just sort of out of it the entire ride there. She's not speaking, she's just sort of staring off into the distance, just sort of mumbling here and there. She's really out of it. So they take her to the Haddonfield Hospital. Get inside the hospital. It's a very small crew. Dr. Mixter, who we can only assume is drunk, because from some context clues and from what the staff has said, he had just came from the country club. So anyways, Laurie is begging them not to put her to sleep, but they do so anyway. And as Loomis and Sheriff Brackett are driving around the town looking for Michael, Loomis thinks that he spots him. He gets out of the car and runs wildly with a gun towards a bunch of trick-or-treaters. And we see a kid with a William Shatner mask on, which is what they used for the Michael Myers masks. So anyways, we see a kid with a mask on, and his costume looks very similar to what Michael had on. So Loomis runs after him, and Sheriff Brackett tries to stop him. And in the midst of all this, the kid is walking across the road, and a cop just runs straight into him and rams him against a van, causing a big explosion and causing the kid to burn up.
Circle the block again.
How long now?
It's about 30 minutes. Put light down there, by those trees.
Well, there's nothing.
Well, keep going.
You know, Doctor, I'm just about there.
What?
The point where I stopped taking orders from you.
All right, Sheriff, whatever you want. The primary concern is that we stop him.
You let him out.
I didn't.
His own goddamn doctor.
I didn't let him out.
Chief Brackett, come in, please. Chief Brackett, come in, please.
Who is it?
Chief, this is Ramsey.
Say again, what is it?
This is Ramsey.
Where are you?
I'm out by the bakery moving north on the Scottsville Road.
Get the hell back into town. Go up 17th Street, meet me by the bypass.
10-4, Ramsey, please.
Will you put that thing away? Couldn't have shot him 6 times.
You think I'm lying, Sheriff?
I think you missed him. No man could take 6 slugs.
I've told you this isn't a man. Look out, slow down.
What?
Over there, look.
Is that him?
I don't know. Get back! Run! Go on, run! Loomis! Get back! Get back, you kid! Run! Loomis! Stop! Get out of it! Loomis! Stop! Stop! Shoot! Stop! Shoot!
Sheriff Brackett. He came out of nowhere. I couldn't stop.
Is it him? Is it him or not?
So once Loomis realizes that it's not Michael, another officer pulls up telling Sheriff Brackett that his daughter was found amongst the victims at the Doyle house.
Lee, they found 3 bodies.
Where?
Across the street from the Doyle house. 3 kids. Lee, one of them was Annie.
Actually, the Warlock house is the one that's across the street from the Doyle house, where Laurie found her friends. Anyways, they rush over there, and we see all these news reporters around the house. So Sheriff Brackett verifies that it is indeed his daughter's body. So he takes off, and we do not see him for the rest of the movie. He blames Loomis for all the murders that Michael has committed, claiming that, oh, you let Michael out, you caused this, but in actuality, the only thing that really happened was Loomis was ordered by the state to release Michael and transport him to another facility. Anyways, so after that, after Sheriff Brackett leaves the scene, we switch over to Michael, who is walking around Haddonfield in search of Laurie. So as he's walking through the square, he bumps into a cowboy with a boombox. And fun fact, guys, the cowboy that Michael bumps into is Dick Warlock's son. And Dick Warlock is the one who plays Halloween 2's Michael Myers. Anyways, so the radio that the kid was carrying around actually was reporting on the news about where Laurie's child was being taken to. And Michael overhears that she was taken to Haddonfield Memorial Hospital, so he heads that way.
Laurie Strode was found directly across the street from the home where the murders took place. The teenager was taken across town to Haddonfield Memorial Clinic.
once getting there, he's able to literally walk into the hospital, or at least onto the grounds of said hospital, because the security guard, Mr. Garrett, is not paying attention to the cameras at all. So Michael's able to successfully sneak on to the campus. I mean, not campus, but, the hospital grounds. And with that, the hospital has officially been breached. Anyways, so once there, Michael sneaks into the hospital. We get a glimpse, I guess you can call it, of who all the characters are at the hospital. So we meet Jimmy and Bud, who we already met previously, as they were the paramedics who brought Laurie to the hospital. We meet Karen, and we also meet Janet. And then we also meet another doctor. I believe her name was Mrs. Elms. I might be wrong. I'll double check on that. So anyways, in this movie, Laurie is pretty much stuck in bed. So, that's fun. So, once she's all settled in and everything, they try to get a hold of her parents, but no sight of them. Apparently, they were last seen at the country club where Dr. Mixter was. So anyway, Laurie's there. Later into the film, Jimmy checks on Laurie because apparently he likes her, and it seems that she probably feels the same way. But that's that. So then Mrs. Alves, that's her name, Alves. I said it wrong. Yeah, Dr. Alves. So eventually, she shoos Jimmy out of the room, and that is where Bud, the other guy, gives him a bit of advice, telling him not to get involved with patients, but he doesn't listen. He sneaks back into her room later anyways, and tells her that it was Michael who tried to kill her. And Laurie realizes, oh, Michael, the one who killed her sister. And, she was like, why is this happening to me? Yada, yada, yada. So it appears that the phone lines are down. So Mr. Garrett has to go fix them. So, because of this, he leaves his other walkie-talkie with Janet. The only issue is, before he leaves, well, actually, let me correct myself. The only issue is, he does not tell her how to use the walkie-talkie. So he goes outside, he checks all the storerooms, and he notices that the locks are broken, and that someone has broken in. So far he sees nothing. He gets scared by a few cats that are in the dumpster, and he's hearing a bunch of noises and things like falling, but he sees nothing. He tells Janet through the walkie-talkie to run to the police station and get the sheriff because someone broke into the storeroom, but on Janet's side is coming off as a bunch of static. And she doesn't know how to use the walkie-talkie, so she's having trouble understanding him, and they are having trouble communicating. So in the midst of all this, he hears a noise from the other storeroom. He goes to check. He sees nothing. As he closes the door, there is Michael, and he hits Mr. Garrett in his head with a hammer claw. And it looks painful. So after he gets killed, we see Bud and Karen. And we see that they are apparently a couple. So Bud makes the suggestion that they should go down to a therapy hot tub and have some adult fun. In the midst of all this, Laurie is still in her room. She is asleep on account of the medication and the drugs that the doctors gave her. And during this scene, we see that Laurie is having a dream from when she about when she was a kid. And we see her talking to who we can assume as her mother, but in the dream the lady says she's not her mother. And then we see Laurie looking at a boy who was sitting by a window just staring, and obviously we can assume that that is Michael Myers. Why is this dream relevant, and what does that have to do with the plot of the movie? You will find out. You will find out soon. Trust me. So, back on Bud and Karen, who they're still in the hot tub. The temperatures begin to rise because Michael was actually down there where they are, and he turned up the temperature. So Bud gets out to check on things, and in the midst of all this, as Karen towels herself off, we see in the background that Michael is killing Bud with like some type of cord or something that he strangled like around his neck. So then Michael goes in to the room where they were, and he sees Karen, and she is about to go back to the floor to finish her work. She assumes that Michael is Bud, and she started to like, and the thing is, Michael placed his hand on her shoulder, and she started like kissing his hand and like biting on his fingers, which is weird. And considering that he has killed a bunch of people, his hands are probably bloody, and you know, and she turns and realizes that it is not Bud, but it is Michael when Michael, snatches his hand away. So once she realizes that it is indeed Michael, Michael grabs her and dunks her head into the tub water as the temperatures are continuing to climb. And that is obviously not good. And like the more he continues to dunk her, her skin starts to peel off. And like when you were a kid, right? And you put Elmer's glue on your hand and you would peel it off. That is how it looks like. It's disgusting, but it's a great scene. So he drops her body to the floor and continues to explore the rest of the hospital. After that, see Dr. Loomis and Officer Hunt pull up to the Myers house where a bunch of people are rioting. And we find out from two kids who it was who was in the Michael Myers mask or the William Shatner mask that got caught on fire. It was Bennett Tramer. Ben Tramer. Laurie's crush from the first movie, who her friends teased her about asking to dance. So they sort of feel a bit iffy about that in a way. They're sort of questioning it because in that specific scene you could tell that Loomis sort of might have a hunch that it's the kid. So then after that, the cops head to an elementary school that was broken into, and we see a drawing on the desk with a knife stabbed into it, and then there's a chalkboard with a word written in blood, which they mispronounce. They pronounce it as Samhain, which Loomis says the Festival of Samhain. But the correct pronunciation of that is Samhain, the Festival of Samhain. Anyways, we get a returning character, Nurse Marion, the lady who was with Dr. Loomis in the first movie, who was driving to pick Michael up for his transport. So she tells she tells Dr. Loomis that the governor has heard about what has happened and has ordered him back to Smithfield, whichever one. And Loomis says Loomis says not to just to make up an excuse as to why he can't come back, but there's already a marshal outside waiting on them. So as they're riding out of town, Marion tells Loomis about a secret file on Laurie Strode, revealing that dun da 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 that Michael is Laurie's brother, and that after their parents died, after the merge and everything, that Laurie was adopted by the Strodes. So Loomis realizes that and realizes that Michael is probably most likely headed after her. So he tells the marshal to head back into town towards the hospital, but obviously the marshal says no. So Loomis says a little warning and shoots his gun at the window, and obviously that causes the marshal to go straight back to the hospital.
You didn't believe me, nobody did.
I'm sorry.
Don't feel sorry for me. Feel sorry for that little town back there. The years before they forget this.
Dr. Loomis, I think there's something else you should know.
You see the blackboard back there in the elementary school?
Yeah?
In order to appease the gods, the druid priests held fire rituals. Prisoners of war, criminals, the insane, animals were burned alive in baskets. By observing the way they died, the druids believed they could see omens of the future. 2,000 years later, we've come no further. Samhain isn't evil spirits. It isn't goblins, ghosts, or witches. It's the unconscious mind. We're all afraid of the dark inside ourselves.
Dr. Loomis, please, listen to me. There's a file on Michael Myers that nobody knew about.
I've seen everything.
No, it was hidden, sealed by the court after his parents were killed. Now, after the governor heard what happened tonight, he authorized Dr. Rogers to open it.
What file?
It isn't fair. They should have allowed you to examine everything. That girl, that Strode girl, that's Michael Myers' sister. She was born 2 years before he was committed. 2 years after, his parents died and she was adopted by the Strodes. They requested that the records be sealed in order to protect the family.
Jesus, don't you see what he's doing here in Haddonfield? He killed one sister 15 years ago. Now he's trying to kill the other. Tonight, after I shot him, where did they take her?
The clinic.
The clinic? Where? Do you know this area well?
A little bit.
Where's the hospital located?
Dr. Loomis, we're under orders from the governor.
It's back on Route 17, about 3 miles.
Turn this car around now.
I can't do that. I've got orders.
Those orders just changed.
Dr. Loomis!
Doctor, you're getting yourself into a lot of trouble.
What is it you fellas usually do? Fire a warning shot, right?
Jimmy decides to go visit Laurie again, and he sees that she is laying in the bed unresponsive with her eyes wide open. So he gets Nurse Jill to check on her, and she sends Nurse Janet to fetch Dr. Mixter in order to help. So she tells Dr. Mixter that there's an issue with the medication that they gave Laurie, but he doesn't respond. So we see that he is dead because he got a syringe in his eyeball with some type of substance, apparently. Not really sure how exactly he was killed, but it must have been something in that syringe. So she backs away in fear, and we see this nice shot where Michael materializes out of the dark behind her, and he grabs a syringe that's filled with nothing but air and stabs that thing straight into her temple, killing her instantly. So that's not fun, obviously. So Jimmy decides to go look for the head nurse or doctor, Mrs. Alves, because they haven't heard anything from Dr. Mixter, because obviously he's dead. So he goes to search for her, and he cannot find her. So as he's roaming around the hospital looking for her, he goes to a surgery room and he sees her like hooked up onto something, and her blood has been like drained out all over the floor. So he turns to leave and he slips into the massive blood puddle that's on the floor, and he's just laid there unconscious. He's not dead, but he just laid there unconscious. So in the midst of all this, while Nurse Jill is waiting for Jimmy to return, there is another patient in another room down the hallway that buzzes for them. So she goes to check that out, and Michael, who had been watching from a distance, goes into Laurie's Laurie's hospital room and starts stabbing at the pillows with a scalpel. I mean, at the bed with a scalpel, but we do see that it is pillows underneath the covers. Because why? Because Laurie is actually awake, and she is walking around the hospital, well, limping. So she goes into another room and just sort of passes out again, while hiding, I guess you could say. So then, because of all this, Nurse Jill decides to try to go for help. And she goes outside to the parking lot, but she sees that her tires are slashed along with all the other tires in the parking lot of the other cars. She goes back inside. She sees Laurie, who is up again and walking again. So as she sees her, Laurie turns around, and when she sees Nurse Jill, she sees Michael coming up behind her with a scalpel, who then stabs Nurse Jill and lifts her up, and we get a shot of her feet with her shoes falling off. So then Laurie starts running into the hallway, as Michael slowly but surely walks behind her. She runs down a few flights of stairs into what I would assume is the basement part of the hospital, and she sees the security officer, Mr. Garrett. So she climbs out through a window and gets to an elevator, and it's like going painfully slow as Michael walks to get to her. And he's walking slow, and the elevator's going slow. So that's like, a bunch of tension being built. So she finally gets into the elevator, but the door is closing so slowly, and Michael is like almost there. So he gets there, and the elevator just barely blocks Michael out, but it does. So she gets to the ground floor. She runs straight to the to the parking lot and hides in the front seat. So she's there, and then we see Jimmy, who is alive, get into the car and tells Laurie that they're going to be okay, they're going to get out of here. But he passes out again as he tries to start the car, and he falls forward, and his head hits the wheel, and it just honks over and over, practically sending, or practically, almost like a bat signal, but for Michael Myers, practically telling him that, oh, this is where we are. So Laurie tries to start the car, but to no use. So then, she gets out of the car, and it's just on the ground, struggling to crawl. And as that happens, Dr. Loomis, and Marion and Marshall, pull up. So they go into the hospital, but she's trying to scream for help, but she can't. But by the time they get into the hospital and the door's closed, that's when she screams. So she gets up, limps towards the door, and Michael sees her. So he walks there. She runs with a limp towards the door and struggles to get it open. And eventually the marshal comes and lets her inside, and she hides behind Marion and Loomis, and Michael breaks through the doors, which the scene always sort of irked me in a way, because, like, he was walking so slow, and yet he managed to break through the door with the speed that's not even necessary for that to happen, but whatever. But, I digress. So anyway, he goes in, and Loomis shoots at him, and he falls to the floor. So he's just laying there, and Dr. Loomis tells Marion to go outside to the marshal's car to use the radio, and to get some help. So, while they are waiting, their marshal is real stupid and gets close and vulnerable to Michael, even though Dr. Loomis tells him to get away. Multiple times, as a matter of fact, and that is when Michael rises and slits the marshal's throat. So then Laurie and Dr. Loomis run off into one of the surgery rooms to hide, with Michael slowly tailing behind them. And he breaks through another hospital door, except this one is wooden. And Loomis is about to shoot, but it doesn't work because he forgot to put the safety off. So Michael stabs Loomis with a scalpel, causing him to sort of fall. And Laurie is hiding in the corner with a gun that Dr. Loomis gave her, which was originally the marshal's, but because he's dead, he has obviously no use for it. So, she's telling Michael to not come any closer, but Michael, being Michael, he goes forward anyway, and Laurie ends up shooting 2 perfect shots, might I add, straight into Michael's mask, right through the eye holes, and we see a nice shot of Michael bleeding tears. Blood tears, to be exact. Happens. Dr. Loomis gets a genius idea to start opening up the tanks of gas that is in the surgery room. So they start to open up the tanks of gas, and Michael just sort of swipes at where he hears them. So then, Loomis tells Laurie to run out of the hospital room. So she runs, and Loomis pretty much tells Michael it's time. So he lights his lighter, and a big hospital explosion happens. And yet, even in the midst of all of this, Michael is still trying to keep on keeping on, and he walks out of the hospital room in flames, pretty much, until he falls. And to close the scene out, we get Laurie being surrounded by news reporters as she gets into the ambulance, and they drive off, and then the song Mr. Sandman starts playing, and we see Michael's burning body. And that concludes Halloween 2. As I said in the last episode, I am a big fan of the Halloween franchise. Even all the movies that some would consider as horrible, I still like them in their own kind of way. And Halloween 2 is definitely one of my favorite movies, right up there with the original, of course. It's amazing, it's a classic, and it's really something, And I think it's a great sequel to Halloween 2. I mean, the original Halloween, not Halloween 2. My fault, guys. Let me rephrase that. I think Halloween 2 is an amazing sequel to the original Halloween. There we go. Anyways, guys. But that concludes this episode. I will see you guys in the next episode where we continue with the Halloween franchise. And in the next episode, we will be talking about Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. So, make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what horror series, movies, franchise, books, whatever you would like to hear about on the podcast. And yeah. So, all you weirdos, nerds, and horror lovers alike, stay weird and stay scary. Alex out.